You have to understand patience. Here's why. The main reason people lose a trade is because they aren't patient enough. So let me show you something really cool. So you, after trading for a couple of years, you're going to learn what a good setup is. Okay. Like, for example, we got a setup today where we got a nice bullish for Valley Gap that kind of lined up with another confluence that I haven't taught you guys yet. But basically what this is a breaker block. Okay. All it is it's, you can kind of see it's an order block. And I'm going to go over this in another video as well, but all it is an order block. We kind of respect the order block. We go down from it, and then we take out some sort of low. And when we come back up to it and trade above it, it now turns into a breaker, and you ideally look for this to be used as support to go back up. So we kind of got a nice model today, and it was a nice breaker block combined with a fair value gap, so we knew it was a good long. So why is this important? Well, this was an amazing setup, and the reason the main reason people fail accounts or blow accounts is because they trade price action that isn't light bulb price action. Now, you're not going to understand this until you have a few years of experience, but I think it's good for me to let you know that when you do have the years of experience, you will know what I'm talking about. After playing hundreds and hundreds of your model with your setup, what you're going to start to notice is you're going to get like a light bulb moment in your head being like, oh my God, this looks good. I've taken this before. And this might be one of those setups. And you're like, okay, I've seen this before. I know it's probably going to work. Even if it doesn't, I know that the win rate's good on this, so I'm going to take it anyways. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But you're going to have these light bulb moments where you're like, okay, this is good price action, and I'm going to trade it. But where does the issue rest? The issue is not actually taking the good setup, because you're going to see good setups all the time. The issue is a lot of people will blow their account because they'll see a setup that kind of looks good, but it's like it doesn't look like this. So this is a great setup. And what will happen is you'll kind of see a setup like this, but maybe we didn't take out this low. Maybe we failed to take out this low. Maybe the higher time frame is bearish. Maybe the higher time frame just didn't sweep liquidity or some sort of liquidity to the left. There's going to be something that's just missing about it. Maybe the momentum of the candles are very weak. So you can obviously see the momentum of these candles are pretty good. There's not a single red candle, and this is a good sign that we're just going to keep going up. And you're going to see a setup that's missing just one key component, and you're not going to understand this until later, but you're going to take that setup and it's going to fail. And then that's where you get mad, when you should have been patient and actually skipped over the setup. Okay, so do you get what I'm saying? So let me show you an example right here. So this is actually a green candle before a down close move sandwiched between two red candles, making this an order block. And the reason why it's a breaker block is because it's actually a swing high. So you can see it's a swing high. We got the 3 candle formation, the higher high, or high, higher high, lower high. So it's a breaker block. Now, we get a setup right here that actually is another order block that was kind of broken. And you can see it was kind of this zone. And you can actually see this is actually not a swing high or swing low. So ideally you want this to be a swing low to be a breaker block, but it's actually not a swing low. So it's not really a breaker block. So let's say I'm in the market and I see this. I'm like, okay, we got kind of a breaker block, but it's not like this where it's a swing high where it's completely perfect. So what they're going to do is they're going to short it, and they're going to put their stop right above that breaker. They're going to play price, and all of a sudden they got their entry, but they're stopped out immediately because they weren't patient enough to wait for that perfect textbook setup where it's a swing high or swing low. In this example, it was a swing high, but this one it wasn't a swing high or swing low. And that's where people go wrong. And the more you trade, the more you'll understand good price action. I actually have this study guide in my Discord, okay? It's basically what I will do a video on these, but it's a market maker buy model, a market maker sell model. And I'll do a later video on these. But in every single model, we get really nice price action, very textbook. It's not really choppy. You can easily annotate it, and it all has kind of the same curve. And it's all very nice, beautiful price action, not really a lot of chop, and they all kind of have a nice curve to it. There is going to be price action where it's going to have a nice curve and it's good to trade, and that's the price action you should be capitalizing on. But the more you trade, the more you're going to kind of understand that, okay, this has a nice curve. This is going to be good price action. I'm going to trade it. And it takes years of experience to know when not to trade. And you have to be patient, and the only way people have blow their accounts that I see is trading in crap like this. Like, just look at this. There's not any nice curve. We're not really, I mean, this is just chop. There's not really a lot of fair value gaps. There's no major market structure shift. We formed a low, lower low, lower high, lower high. I mean, we aren't really displacing below any of the lows either. You can kind of see right here, we didn't really displace a low. And it's very not obvious, just price action. It's not really easily readable. And this is where people get caught up trading instead of waiting for when you get a bunch of good, nice momentum candles like this setup for here. If I circle this setup and I circle like this, what's the difference? Well, some new people might not know, but the more you trade, the more this is. If you come back to 2 years in this video, you're going to know immediately. If this is your first time looking at this, you may not know the difference. But in here, you got really good momentum, really good price action. We swept the low, barely displaced below it. Here, you just got a bunch of choppy, very small candles, not really a single direction, not really any like displacement below lower high versus this one we kind of displaced above this high nicely. It's very obvious that this is just not good price action. And this is where people lose accounts because they'll trade this setup and they'll be like, great, it was a win. But then they'll start trading in here and just get chopped up. And the key to being successful trading is kind of using common sense or using your brain or maybe using the knowledge that I've taught you to kind of pass out on these setups that aren't that obvious. I'd consider this an A+ setup where we kind of get a breaker and we get a long off it. And I'd consider this just C, B price action. It's just not good price action. And through years of experience, you will start to recognize when we get that price action. But the biggest thing to being a successful trader is waiting and waiting and waiting until finally we get something that looks like a light bulb moment of something you see before. And that doesn't mean taking something that, okay, maybe this kind of looks good. That means taking something that generally looks good. You've seen it before. You've seen it work a lot, and that's it. Like, it's automatic. It goes in your brain automatic, and that's what I'm trying to teach you guys. So that's the biggest thing to being patient. Now, for beginners, I actually suggest taking as many setups as possible for beginners. So maybe you see like 3 breaker blocks and one has good displacement, but the other 2 don't. You need to take those to get the experience, and the experience is going to be like, okay, this one's bad, this one's good. That's how you're going to get better. So if you're new, definitely take a lot of trades, even if it doesn't have that light bulb in your head, because you're not going to you're not going to have that light bulb moment until you trade for 2 to 3 years. But the more setups you take, the more you're going to start to realize, like, okay, here's why this setup loses, here's why this setup wins. That's how you're going to get better. And then once you're actually good, what I'm telling you is probably going to be good. Obviously not passing on those setups that aren't super light bulb, that aren't super easy. It's something you've maybe seen before, but maybe it's not the greatest. Like, just skipping those setups in general. But when you're new, you should take everything you see that you think is a strategy, because that's how you're going to learn. So that's kind of the end of this video. I just want to be clear, like, patience is the #1 thing. If you can control your patience and not take those crappy setups where you're like, okay, this kind of looks like the model, but not really, you're going to be better off. Now, if you're newer, don't be like, oh, I'm just not going to take any setups then. If you're newer, take as many setups as possible, because that's how you're going to learn which one's going to be the light bulb setup and which one's going to be the not so good setup. Okay, so that's going to be it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.